This video about inferring can be viewed as an introduction video, or you can just move to one slide on it and use that as the point for a lesson. So feel comfortable to use the whole video or just to use one or two slides. What is inferring? Inferring is following a trail of clues to snap them together. The author does not state the message directly. Inferring has a few different names. Sometimes inferring is called guessing. Sometimes inferring is called making an inference or reading between the lines. So people say, I infer that she is angry, or I've got an inference that this happened because the weather was bad. These are the kinds of words that we use when we are inferring. So let's follow a trail of clues and snap them together. I'd just like to ask you now to think about the question, where is this little boy going? Take a look at the picture and look at the clues in the picture. And I think you would say that you infer that he's going to the beach because of the clues there, because you already know what people take to the beach. A bucket, a deck chair, beach umbrella, some towels. That's what tells you it's a trail of clues that you have followed. So let's look at this trail of clues. Can we please go see the elephants first? They're my favourite, I said as we walked through the gate. So what are the two clues that we've got here? Elephants and gate. So where do you think that they are going? Of course, the answer is the zoo, because I infer that they are going to the zoo using the elephants and the gate as my clues. Let's have a look at this one. Let's follow a trail of clues and snap them together. And the question is, what is the weather like? And the answer is going to be, I infer that it is... So here we go. Seth grabbed a coat, boots, and an umbrella before heading outside. What are our clues here? Coat, boots, umbrella. So the answer is, I infer it is raining because of the coat, boots, and umbrella. And that's one of the things about inferring. You say what you infer, and you kind of give your clues every time. You say, I infer because. So another way of talking about inferring is called making an inference. It's the same thing. And an inference is actually an educated guess that we make based on the information right in front of us, but we combine it with our own experience. So inferring is a mixture of clues and of our own knowledge. So if you read this passage here, it's about a little girl who's really excited. And one of the things that I suggest that people do is use a coloured highlighter if you've got a text that you can highlight, and see if you can colour highlight the clues that tell you the answer. So the question is, where is Katie going? And the clues are big red shoes, paint face white, big red circle, and so on. So these clues that are scattered, I've got a word for them. I call them word trails, and I think they're really useful to follow. And there are different word trails in every story. And so this word trail that we've been following is actually about Katie dressing up. And I infer that Katie is dressing up as a clown and going out trick-or-treating for Halloween because, and then I can give all the clues about that came from the text about dressing up as a clown. What about this one? Who is this about? And what is she like? She walked into the room in a haughty manner, and all the servants hurried to do her bidding. She strode across the dining hall to sit on her throne and adjusted her crown impatiently. "Bring me my box of treasure immediately," she bellowed. "I need to handle all my gold tonight before I make my next decision." So we've actually got two word trails here. One word trail tells us who this is about, and the second word trail tells us what kind of character she is. So word trail number 1, I infer that she's a queen. And the word trail was servants, throne, and crown. They were my clues. But what is she like? Word trail number 2, I infer that she is grumpy because of the clues haughty, impatiently, and bellowed. So one little tip that I give to people is when you're colour highlighting word trails, make sure you change the colour of your highlighter when you move on to another word trail. Here's another word trail about Miss Trunchbull from Matilda. And I'd like you to have a think about the word trail that shows us that Miss Trunchbull is an unstoppable force. And here's the word trail. She marched. She never walked. She always marched like a stormtrooper. Long strides, arms swinging, snorting, and so on. So it's really interesting the way in which the writer actually scatters a trail of clues in their writing and doesn't say to you, Miss Trunchbull was an unstoppable force. But actually the writer scatters the clues so that you follow those clues and you work it out. And so we infer what a character is like when we are reading from descriptions, from the words they say, and from their thoughts and their actions. We often find out so much about them by following word trails. And we can also infer from images. Let's have a look here at Andy's room. And we can look in, and the questions are, what are Andy's interests? What type of person is Andy? And how old do you think Andy is? So have a talk right now with a friend and see if you can infer the answers to those questions by looking at what is actually in Andy's room. You can say, I infer. Now, we don't just think inferentially when we read a story. We also have to follow trails of clues when we read non-fiction. We need to infer what is the main idea, what is significant about this topic. We have to notice if the writer has any bias, and we have to think about what's going to keep happening in the world if this issue doesn't get solved. So, as a summary here, I've given you some more inferential questions that you can ask when you're reading a novel. And these require you to follow trails of clues. The writer won't just spell it out. These questions will be really useful when you're thinking about a number of the novels that you read. So there are many, many ways of talking about inferring. We don't just say I infer. We might say I'm making an inference, I'm guessing, I'm reading between the lines, I'm answering an inferential question. But remember, the really important thing with inferring is to follow the author's word trails and snap those clues together. And remember, the author doesn't say a lot of things directly. The author does a lot of hinting and scattering of clues, and that is why you have to infer. So as a writer, What is it that you need to do as a good writer? You need to scatter word trails as well so that your reader can follow your clues. Sometimes just show your reader about your character. Don't just always tell that your character was angry, but actually show your character was angry by kicking over a table or, you know, looking with an angry frown. So there's a lot of scattering of clues in good writing. And so remember that you can scatter these clues to show us about your character, about how they're feeling, about relationships, about emotions and bodily reactions and themes. And all of these clues that you scatter will make for really good writing. So here we've got some examples, some practical examples of how you can show what your character is like. You might not say he was excited, but you could have your character with their mouth wide open or smiling from ear to ear. So there are some really clever ways that you can show how a character is feeling by what's happening in their bodies, and your reader can follow those clues.